The gym manager's voice echoes across the crowded fitness floor. "We don't allow people like you here anymore. You're making other members uncomfortable." 82-year-old Frank Martinez steadies himself against his walker, his weathered hands trembling slightly as dozens of younger gym-goers stop their workouts to stare. The small bronze star pinned to his veteran cap catches the fluorescent light, but nobody notices the quiet dignity of a man who once carried wounded soldiers through the jungles of Vietnam. What happens next will leave you speechless and restore your faith in humanity. If you believe our veterans deserve better treatment, hit that subscribe button and tell us in the comments about a veteran who changed your life. This story needs to be heard. The story: Frank had been coming to this gym for 3 months. His doctor said he needed to move more after his hip surgery. The $20 monthly membership was all his small pension could handle. He came every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. when it was quieter, doing simple exercises his physical therapist taught him. Today felt different from the moment he walked in. The young manager, Derek, was waiting by the front desk with his arms crossed. Frank showed his membership card like always, but Derek didn't even look at it. "You need to leave," Derek said loudly. Several people stopped talking and turned to watch. Frank felt his face get hot, but tried to stay calm. "I paid my membership fee," Frank said quietly. "I'm not causing any trouble." Derek stepped closer, speaking even louder now. "Look at you. You can barely walk. This is a fitness center, not a nursing home. You're taking up space that real athletes could use." A woman on the treadmill slowed down to listen. 2 young men by the weight rack stopped lifting and stared. Frank felt every eye in the room watching him. His hands gripped his walker tighter. "Sir, I just want to do my exercises," Frank said. His voice was shaking now. "My doctor says I need to stay active." Derek laughed and shook his head. "Active? You move slower than my grandmother. And frankly, you smell like old medicine. It's gross." Our premium members are complaining. Frank's chest felt tight. He had showered that morning and put on his cleanest clothes. The smell Derek mentioned was probably from his heart medication. He couldn't help that. A crowd was forming now. People pretended to stretch or get water, but they were really watching the show. Some had their phones out. Frank noticed a few. People whispering and pointing at his walker. "You're embarrassing yourself, old man," Derek continued. "This gym is for people who actually want to get in shape, not people who come here to feel sorry for themselves." Frank tried to take a step toward the exercise area, but Derek moved to block him. The young manager was at least 50 years younger and twice as big. Frank felt small and helpless. "I'm not leaving," Frank said, trying to sound strong. "I have every right to be here." Derek's voice got even louder. "Rights? You want to talk about rights? You're violating other people's right to a clean, professional environment. Look around. Everyone's staring because you don't belong here." It was true. Frank could see people watching from every corner of the gym. A group of college kids near the stretching mats were laughing and taking pictures. An older woman on the elliptical machine looked disgusted. Even the teenage girl at the smoothie bar was staring. "You're making everyone uncomfortable," Derek said. "I'm asking you nicely to leave. Don't make me call security." Frank felt tears starting to form in his eyes. He had faced enemy soldiers, carried wounded friends through dangerous territory, and survived things these people couldn't imagine. But right now, in front of all these strangers, he felt broken. "Please," Frank whispered. "I'll stay out of everyone's way. I'll exercise in the corner. You won't even know I'm here." Derek threw his hands up dramatically. "This is exactly what I'm talking about. Begging and pleading like some homeless person. This is a business, not a charity." A man in expensive workout clothes walked over. He looked at Frank like he was looking at garbage on the sidewalk. "Are you seriously going to let this continue?" the man asked Derek. I pay good money to work out here. I shouldn't have. To deal with this, more people started speaking up. A woman in yoga pants said she felt uncomfortable with Frank around. A young man said old people should have their own separate gyms. Someone else said Frank probably had diseases that could spread. Frank wanted to disappear. He wanted to go home and never come back. But something inside him refused to give up. He had been pushed around by bullies before, in school, in the army, in life. But he had never backed down when he knew he was right. "I'm staying," Frank said, his voice getting stronger. "I paid my membership. I'm not breaking any rules. I'm not leaving." Derek's face turned red. "Fine, have it your way." He pulled out his phone and started dialing. "I'm calling the police. We'll see how tough you are when they drag you out of here." Crowd got bigger. People were filming now, waiting to see an old man get arrested. Frank could hear them talking about him like he wasn't even there. Someone said he probably had dementia. Another person wondered if he was dangerous. Frank reached into his jacket pocket and felt a small case he always carried. Inside was something he had never shown anyone at this gym. Something he rarely talked about with anyone. His fingers traced the edges of the case as Derek spoke loudly into his phone. "Yes, police? I need someone at Gold's Gym on Main Street. We have a trespassing situation. An elderly man is refusing to leave and causing a disturbance." Frank closed his eyes and remembered another time when he was surrounded by people who wanted to hurt him. It was 1968, and he was 25 years old, trapped in a foxhole with 3 wounded soldiers while enemy fire rained down around him. He had been scared then too, but he didn't run. He stayed and fought and brought all 3 men home alive. When he opened his eyes, Derek was hanging up the phone. "The police are on their way," Derek announced to the crowd. This will all be over soon. But something had changed in Frank's face. The fear was still there, but now there was something else. Something that made Derek take a step back without knowing. Why? Frank slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out a small blue case. His hands weren't shaking anymore. The crowd pressed closer, trying to see what he was holding. "You want to know who I am?" Frank said, his voice clear and strong now. "You want to know if I belong here?" He opened the case.